Hello guys, this is Theo from Fino Concept. Today we are going to be looking at layers, layer masks and groups. Okay, so let's begin. First and foremost, we go to File, New. Here I'm going to name the file Layers. I'll set the width to 1200 and the height to probably 800. The resolution I usually use 300, so I set it as 300. Color mode RGB and the background is white. Okay, so we click on OK, and I'm essentially going to drag this and drop it here. So just as we discussed previously, the blue markings shows that I can drop it here. So with my zoom tool, I'm going to fit this to the screen. Now it's occupying the entire screen here. So essentially, layers are what Photoshop uses. Every layer contains several shapes and styles which come together to form one specific image. So to create layers, you just click on create a new layer here, then it just creates as many layers as you want. So I'm going to delete this app. Okay, the first layer we are going to create is going to be a shape layer. So I'm going to bring up my shape tool. Then today I'll be using the ellipse tool. So instead of clicking and dragging, I want a perfect circle. So instead of clicking and dragging, I'm just going to delete this. I'll just click, sorry about that, I'll just click and set it to 100 pixel by 100 pixel and from center. Now from center is going to generate this 100 pixel from the center of the circle. So I press V on my keyboard to bring up the move tool. Then I'm going to resize this, so I'll make it a little bit larger so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm going to check on OK. So the moment we create this, we get this new layer created here, and the layer is called ellipse. Now we can double click. If it's a shape, using the shape tool, we can double click on this icon right here, then we could change the color. But let's just say if it was just a layer and we used the ellipse tool here, elliptical marquee tool, then we just create a circle. Then after the circle, we just use our paint bucket tool, which is right here, to paint over it. So I'll press Ctrl D to deselect. Now this is also a layer. These two are layers, but the first one, the layer on top, which is this, is not a shape. It wasn't created using the shape tool. But the second one, which is below, was created using the shape tool. So for the second one, we can double click, then change the color. But for the first one, we can't. Double clicking won't do anything to it. It's just going to bring up the layer style, which we've not gotten there yet. So I will not be talking about that. Cancel. So to change the color of this, what we can do is we hold down Control key, then we click. The moment you hold down Control key over this thumbnail, you get another icon on the mouse cursor which shows that you could click. So the moment we click, there's a selection around the layer. So to change the color, we have to use our paint bucket tool, then we select the color we want to change it to. So from here, I'll select this mauve color right here using the eyedropper tool. We talked about this in the previous episodes. So I'll click on OK. Now with my paint bucket tool selected, I'll click on this layer and it's going to color it. So I'll hold down Ctrl and press D to deselect. So essentially these are layers. We have a shape layer and we have a regular layer. So we can group this by with this highlighted, I could hold down Ctrl and click on the ellipse one. Then I could drag these two down here into the group folder. So if I drag it into the group folder and let go of it, it creates a new group, and this new group will embed the two layers. Okay, another way to do it is, let me press Ctrl Alt Z. Another way to do is this: you create the new group by clicking on this icon right here. So now we have a new group. Now we can click on the first layer, hold down Ctrl, click on the second layer. Now we can drag these two into group one. So essentially these are the two ways of creating a group. So in group one we have layer one and ellipse one. Now the third thing I want to talk about is layer mask. Layer mask essentially allows you to clean some part of a layer or an image without it happening to affect the actual layer or image. So I'm going to select this layer, which is this one right here. I'm going to select it and create a layer mask on top of it. Now to create a layer mask, we click on this icon which says add layer mask. So we click on it. Just wanted one. Let me undo. So with this layer mask selected, notice that when I click here is the image which is selected. We want to select the layer mask. So with this layer mask selected, I'll take my brush tool by pressing B on my keyboard or just hovering over this icon and selecting the brush tool. Now the brush tool is set to 5 pixels at this moment. I'm going to increase it to about I think 100 should be okay, 100 pixels, and hit enter. Now essentially what we can do is any part I brush over is going to vanish even though it's actually there. Now notice that this layer mask is set to white. So that means the color I'm going to use should be set to black, so that if I wipe over that portion, it's going to take it off. I'm going to explain further. So we click and we brush over this portion. Now notice that the image is going off, but this is only affecting the layer mask. It's not affecting the actual image. So if I hold down Shift and click right here, you notice that the image is still there. Holding down Shift and clicking shows that is the same as right clicking and selecting disable layer mask. So right click, disable layer mask. You could hold down Shift and just click. So you notice that the image is actually not affected. It's just the layer mask over it. Now because it's set to black, it's going to clean out this portion. Now if I change it to white, the short key for doing this is the X key on the keyboard. So if I press X several times, it's just going to be alternating the foreground and the background color. So if I change it to white and I brush over this portion, now it's going to be revealing the image once again. The same thing goes for the ellipse tool, the ellipse we created. And if I set it to black, we could clean that portion out and if I set it to white, I'll be using the keyboard this time around by pressing X. If I set it to white, I could bring the image back up. So let me go ahead and delete this layer mask and delete this one too. So to merge these two images, what I'm going to do is I'll press V to bring up the move tool right here. Then I'll drag this image on top of this one and drag the ellipse below this one. So I'm going to merge these two images. Now how to do that is I'll click on the first layer and create a layer mask. Now if the layer mask is white, then your brush should be set to black so that you can wipe that portion off. Now let's just say your layer was set to black. To do this, we can hold down Ctrl and press I. This will invert the colors. So that's another trick. This will invert the colors. Now if it's set to black, you notice that everything vanishes from here. So if you want to bring that back, you have to change this color, the foreground color, to white. Now if we brush over that portion, you notice that the image begins to show. Okay, so these two images are merged now, but notice that there are some portions here which do not make it look quite merged. So I'll right click and change my brush preset to hard instead of soft. So once it's hard, I could just click. I'll change this to black because I want to hide those portions. I'll click and take this portion out. So now they both look like it's just one image. If I hide this, notice that it's just one image on top of another. So basically that's it for the layer masks, layers and groups. Thank you very much.